The stream is live. It has been declared. Who knows when it really starts because Substack does its woo-woo thing. Sometimes it hops on. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes people are like, why aren't you talking? I'm like, why am I not talking? Because I don't know yet that you're there yet. But I am joined today by my friend Olivia Julianna. She is a Gen Z message and strategist, which I think is a fancy word for going out and kicking the hell out of bad guys, which is something that I dearly love to do. I am not Gen Z, as you may have noticed, but I'm so glad you came on today because it strikes me that we're in one of those. We've come out of another one of those weeks where the pressure has been so high, the craziness has been so high, and a lot of the burden of this moment that we're in, a lot of the crap in this moment that we're in, is going to come down on Gen Z. A lot of the consequences of what's happening are going to come down on Gen Z. So talk to me first about where you see the sort of message climate in the week that we've just had. I honestly think it's much better for Democrats and for us and the pro-democracy side than it's been for Trump. But I wanted to get your take on that and just have a little conversation about what you see happening and talk about the weekend, et cetera.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we're kind of in towards the beginning of the week. We're kind of in this back and forth for attention, especially because some of the optics, some of the photos that were coming out of Los Angeles, the right was just taking it and they were running with it.
Oh yeah.
But I actually think that I am kind of starting to see something that I haven't seen in a while, which is I'm seeing normal non-political influencers, celebrities. I'm seeing Republican celebrities
Mm-hmm.
and Republican influencers, most notably MMA UFC Ryan Garcia. He just
Right.
came out and said something against this. Logan Paul's podcast partner, Mike Magi, he just came out and said something against this. And so I think the fact that we're seeing young Gen Z influencers who either voted for Trump, supported him very vocally, are now coming out and saying, this is wrong. I don't
Right.
agree with this. I think that shows that like Democrats have a lot of capital and a lot of ability here to really bring some people back to us, and at least at the very least trust us on this issue. I think Republicans have really kind of lost their footing really strongly.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I feel like, honestly, I think Senator Padilla being assaulted, um, to my mind, and maybe you have another moment in the week you think is different. I think the Marines being deployed and Padilla being assaulted were two bridges too far, even for a lot of MAGA folks.
Yeah. No, it definitely was. I think, Senator Padilla being assaulted, he was assaulted. He was detained. He was put in
Yeah, he
handcuffs.
was assaulted.
If this can happen to a sitting United States senator, um, who could it not happen to? And they tried to say the BS of like, well, they didn't know who he was. If you are the Department of Homeland Security Secretary and you don't
Yeah.
know what the senior senator from a border state looks like, then you
Who
are
is
not
on
doing
the
your job.
committee? Who's on the committee
That confirmed
that
you.
has oversight of
Yeah,
you? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Like it's BS. I don't buy it for a second. He identified himself within minutes. It was a flex of muscle. That's what it was. It was a
Yep.
message they were sending. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to go how they think it's going to play out. Another moment that really struck me is there was a video of a young white woman who was trying to walk back to her apartment. This isn't like in the evening, but she's not even protesting. She's just trying to walk back
Right.
to her apartment. She gets shot by a rubber bullet. An
Right.
Australian reporter, another white woman, gets shot by a rubber bullet. And so the optics that I've seen from that online in young spaces is if they're doing this to people who are not protesting, who are simply walking, especially white women, and now we have a US senator getting arrested, where does it stop?
I think that's really. I mean, I think that's a really important point, Olivia, because we are in this moment where for a while people could sort of say, oh, they're just doing it to those Mexicans, they're just doing it to those Venezuelans, they're just doing it to those Cubans, they're not us. But now it's starting to spread and we're seeing, more Americans getting either caught up or kettled or shot with rubber bullets or tear gassed, even the ones who were not quote unquote violent protesters. This is beginning, I think, to penetrate the normie brain with with a very, 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 very bad vibe for a lot of people, because we're not we're not we're not in the world where they can pretend it's only illegals getting snatched up from illegal alien criminals getting snatched up. It looks like a lot like they kind of ran out of bad guys, and then they move from the identifiable criminal element to, oh, you're brown.
Yeah, or they're picking up people who are at their court hearings, trying
Right.
to get their asylum certified or get their citizenship certified.
Right.
People who came here the right way are getting picked up and deported now.
I can remember when Republicans were like, well, we're okay with immigrants as long as they work hard and play by the rules. So what part of working hard, that's easy, and playing by the rules, showing up for your immigration hearings, showing up for your status hearings, and they're pulling them out of courtrooms, but they're also pulling them out of classrooms and churches and fields. I mean, I think the visual of this has gotten to a lot of people that maybe it hadn't affected them as much as it did this week, because this week I do feel a change in the weather, a change in the wind.
I agree. I feel like I haven't seen this temperament on social media. I would argue as far back as 2020. I don't think I've seen this stark of a shift this quickly in a very long time.
So are you seeing this more on because Twitter is now so warped as an information bubble that it's
Mhm.
hard to parse it a lot of the time? Are you seeing I think I'm seeing more of it on Insta right now, which tells me that the demographic is broad. Are you seeing it more? Are you seeing it also on TikTok and other places like that?
I'm seeing it on TikTok. I've seen a lot of videos of people who are specifically the influencer crowd. I've seen a lot of them make videos saying like, "I live in LA. I should talk about this."
Mhm.
But I've actually seen a pretty decent handful of it on Twitter. You know, Ryan Garcia, his was on Twitter.
Right.
Same with Mike Majak, theirs was on Twitter. And so I think the fact that we're seeing it in so many places just shows how broad it is, because I have seen
Right.
it on every platform.
If it's penetrating the sort of bias matrix that Elon has put Twitter in, then that really means something. I think that really
Mhm.
means that this is much broader than anyone thinks that it is. So this weekend we have two big things coming up.
Mhm.
We've got No Kings in cities across this country. Millions of Americans are going to come out for No Kings. And we've also got the Donald Trump missile parade in DC. Um, Let me ask you this: as an influencer, how would you cover or interact with the Trump military parade? Because I think there's a lot of opportunities for fuckery there, deservedly. But how would you approach that to make that go into a different sort of frame for people?
Well, I've seen a lot of videos of people who are hedging the claim that they are paying people to go. I've seen a
Right.
couple of different videos saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I've also seen people who have said like, "Oh, I'm gonna reserve my spot and then not show up." Um, I don't know if that's actually a thing. If it is a thing, then by all means, guys, go reserve tickets for you and your entire family, and then
Right.
don't go. That's what happened to one of his rallies that he had a few
The
years
Tulsa
ago.
the Tulsa rally.
The Tulsa rally. Yeah, I mean, as far as No Kings, I'll be at the one here in Houston, and
Mm-hmm.
I plan on just showing the diverse nature of who is there. I plan on showing the peaceful nature of this protest and really working to counteract these narratives that they've been pushing out. I will be out there with an American flag in tow, because like I'm a proud fourth generation American. My family immigrated here from Mexico, and
Right.
I am proud of both of those facts. And the reason I am fighting so passionately against Donald Trump and what he's doing is because I am a descendant of immigrants and I love my country. And I
Right.
think that that's where most people are at, is that they're doing this because they love their country, and we need to reaffirm that narrative.
You know what? I think that's so on point, Olivia. I mean, and it's something we were at Lincoln Project we've been screaming about for 5 years now. Like, don't let them monopolize the American flag. Don't let them own patriotism. Don't let them say that the only people who love this country are Donald Trump supporters, because it's horseshit.
Yep.
And the number, I mean, the optics of the Mexican flags in LA, you saw how quickly Fox and the right wing media
Mhm.
system, like just jumped on that. So I hope we see a lot of American flags this weekend, folks. And I mean a lot. I mean, don't let these people like box you out of feeling patriotic. And you know what? You're so right. I mean, there are millions and millions, and most Americans, the vast majority of Americans, come from 2, 3, 4 generations ago. And that long cycle of how beautiful this country is, of people coming here, and the first generation doesn't speak English and they work so hard. And the second generation is the bridge, and they maybe speak English half the time and whatever native language half the time. And they work their asses off. And that third generation, those kids are Americans.
Yeah.
And they may know some of the old language, but they are Americans, and they've become, this process was about race, was about a proposition. And I think that for a long time, Republicans have assumed that there is a degree of racism sufficient in the country to keep this sort of immigrant hatred tidal wave rolling forever. I feel like something changed this week. I really do.
I do too.
I feel like when even Trump goes and gives a press conference and says, well, there are these farm workers, by the way. I watched it, and I knew that wasn't a real sincere change in Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But man, what a viral moment. What an absolute walk back. What a taco moment. He absolutely, you could see he had a realization. Somebody told him both the economy and the polling sucks for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that Trump is actually making a mistake that I actually find that I think Democrats make this mistake most often, which is when we talk about immigration, we so often talk about it in means of immigrants being a workforce and a labor force.
Sure.
And I think that that's why so many, second, third, fourth generation Americans, Latino men in particular, they were very quick to turn to Donald Trump because Trump didn't talk about it in that way necessarily for a while. And now he's starting to talk like that because he realizes that's the truth. And that's why I think that this is not just a moment where there's a stark change happening in public narrative, but I actually think that this is a huge opportunity for Democrats to stake a claim on where exactly it is that we are at on immigration, and to bring a lot of those men who are frankly now pissed off at Donald Trump back into the fold.
Yeah, I am seeing a growth in that. There's a lot of viral content out there right now on this front. Contractors and farmers who are very strong Trump supporters, and they are in shock. They're like, ICE came and took my workforce. My business is going out of business if you do this anymore, Mr. President. And I don't even think he's fully got it yet, but I see the crack. The crack that's emerged here is epic. And there were a lot of people on the right on Twitter that I was looking through some of the responses. They were not happy. They were like, "What the fuck, dude? What?" Stephen Miller's having a bad day.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think it's because he let himself get into this mindset that all the people online, that's America, which it's often the left has this problem of social media is not real life.
Oh yeah.
But now Trump is falling into this of social media is not real life. All these people who told you that this is what they wanted, this is not where the majority of Americans are at, period.
Right. And I think it is really easy to get into a Twitter bubble or a social media bubble broadly, and algorithmically convince yourself that your position is the only position, not just the right one, but the only one. So let me ask you this question. I am 61 years old, therefore TikTok and I are not acquainted. I'm too old for the dancing. I'm too old for that format. So TikTok has been a massive shaping force of Gen Z. I mean, a profound shaping force of Generation Z. Does TikTok feel different to you in this post sort of, we're going to shut you down, we're not going to shut you down moment? Does it because I did see that Trump's folks managed to really do well using TikTok in the 2024 election, even though it's a climate people assumed was very pro-democratic, pro-Harris, etc. Where does TikTok sit now politically in your mind, and what kind of influencer cultures are developing there in this second Trump era?
I think that people are a lot more comfortable being open about their conservative beliefs on TikTok in a way that in the
Mm-hmm.
past they really weren't,
Okay.
because it wasn't, it might have been not cool to be a Democrat in real life,
Yeah.
but it's very much not cool to be a Trump supporter on social media for the most part.
Right.
And so I think that that's kind of where it was at on TikTok. But now I think that TikTok has actually kind of started to become a little bit more reflective of where America's politics actually are at,
Mm-hmm.
as you have your right-wing influencers, you have your left-wing influencers, and you have your people who are in the middle. And I think that we're going to kind of see that continue to go on as the Trump presidency continues. But
Right.
what I'll say is, to me, my TikTok For You page has never been more political than it is right now. And I've done politics on TikTok for 5 years.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm seeing, and a big part of the reason why Trump did so well on social media is because I think the number is there are twice as many pro-Trump social media posts as there were pro-Kamala or pro-Democratic social media posts going into the 2024 election.
I
And I
believe
think
that.
now, I think that that's starting to shift, where people are so upset and incensed at what they're seeing from the Trump administration that even if they have 100 followers, 1,000 followers, like, they are starting to post content about this. And I think that we are really going to see that come to a crescendo in the midterm elections.
I think I think the timing of Trump on the immigration and trade stuff is so bad,
Yeah.
because it really will cause the pain from these things is going to increase as the attention to the election of 26 increases. I think they're going to be in lockstep, and that's not great for them, because
No.
this is not selling the way they thought it would outside of their base. So Olivia, um, you're going to do No Kings this weekend. What do you
Mhm.
encourage Gen Z folks to be doing if they go to No Kings this weekend?
Stay civil, stay safe, stay alert.
Yeah.
Don't really think that there's going to be a problem with people who are Gen Z being, hooligans. I don't think that that's
Yeah.
going to happen. But my biggest thing is stay safe, know your rights,
Yep.
know what rights you have, know
Mhm.
if you are someone who, if you look like if you're a brown person in America, know what a court order looks like, know what someone who is actually an ICE agent or a National Guardsman or a police officer,
Yep.
know what their identifying documents look like. And if you are undocumented and you plan on going to one of these protests, if that paper does not have a signature on it from a judge,
Yeah.
they legally cannot take you.
Right.
So going into this, know
Also,
your rights.
yeah. Also, don't talk to cops.
Yeah.
Don't talk to
Don't
cops. You
don't
know
talk
what?
to cops.
Don't talk to cops. Just don't fucking
And
talk
if
to cops.
you're
You don't
and
have
if
to
you're in
answer any
Texas,
questions. You do in most states have to present ID if they demand it, but you don't have to answer a goddamn thing they ask you. The
that's
phrase is,
true.
"I would like to speak to an attorney." And if they say blah 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 blah, you say, "Am I being detained?" If you are not being detained, leave. Get out.
Hmm.
But it's going to be, I think it's going to be a big weekend across the country, where I think this really is a moment of transition. And I love your stuff. I think you have a very engaged and engaging personality on these things. And I wish elders in the Democratic Party would follow along a little more, and not think that the best way to communicate is, as Chuck Schumer said, a sternly worded letter.
Yeah, I'm really sick of letters and
Yeah,
statements and honorary resolutions. They don't do anything. That
right.
doesn't do anything but placate you. I need to
Hmm.
see some more Alex Padilla energy. Like, I need more
Yes,
of you. I need more of you willing to get arrested at an event that's not planned. Because,
that's right.
that's what I need. So I'm with you there.
Well, Olivia, I appreciate you very much. Thank you for coming on the show today. Tell folks where they can find you on the various platforms.
You can find me everywhere at Olivia Julianna. You can find me at Substack, oliviajulianna.substack.com, and you can hear me complain about the Republicans and Donald Trump and tell you what you can do to make it better.
Boom. And you have the distinction of calling Donald Trump Jr. a pussy, which is both true and fabulous. All right, Olivia,
Very
thank
true.
you for coming on the show today. We will talk to you again next time. Look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks everybody for watching today. We will we'll hopefully see you guys at the rallies this weekend. No kings, folks. What part of no kings don't you understand? I have a video about this from yesterday up on my Substack and an essay about it coming up on the Lincoln Square Substack. It might be up there now, I'm not sure, but it's coming up shortly. This is the fundamental thing, everybody. Our founders 250 years ago were descended from people who came to this country fleeing religious persecution. They were descended from people who wanted to live a free life. They came to this country. They faced up against the greatest empire in the world. They triumphed. They won through blood and sacrifice. And if it was today, the number of soldiers who were killed in the Revolutionary War would be the equivalent of about 1.5 million people, given the population size at the time. And between then and now, millions of men and women on battlefields and in fights for rights and liberty in this country, and in a civil war to end the monstrosity of slavery, they fought not for a king, not for a monarchy, not for a hereditary title to be passed from one generation of a presidency to another. They fought for America. They fought for the Constitution. They fought for the founding and the rule of law, and they fought for the goodness that we have in this country. No kings is the fundamental wiring diagram of America. You don't have to love the way the system works, but I can promise you, if it becomes a monarchy where one man and his party or one man and his family dominate every aspect of your life, you'll like it a whole lot less. No kings, folks. No kings. See you next week.